It's showtime!
Welcome to Show Me Some Television, the segment where I binge watch television programs thanks to Rogers' Show Me service, essentially like Netflix, but from the telecommunications company Rogers, and then I tell you all about it. So, what are we talking about now? We are talking about The Strain, Season 1. Now, The Strain, what is The Strain? The Strain, it's a vampire story. It's a disease story. It's what else can you say? It's based off of the works from Guillermo del Toro and Chuck Hogan. I think it was a book. I think it ended up a comic as well. I could be wrong, but I think it was a comic as well. And now it's a television series. It's on FX for those who get that station, but now I'm watching it on Shomi. So it's not a Shomi original or anything like that, but it's just something that they've picked up to essentially deliver to the masses. How it starts off is the first episode is a plane lands, and it's in New York, and essentially the tower can't reach anybody. And so they think there's some kind of terrorist thing going on. The CDC, FBI, police, everybody's called in to deal with it, and the CDC essentially goes in and determines, hey, there's like something going on here. This doesn't look good. This looks like every sign that there's a disease of some sort going on here, but we don't know what it is. So it's sort of breaks off from there, and the people involved at the CDC who are all behind this, hey, this is a disease, they essentially get canned, well, not canned, but pushed to the side. Politics comes into play, and corruption and all that kind of good stuff, and it eventually unleashes a vampire plague on New York. And I say plague because it's very similar to, say, a zombie movie, except instead of zombies we get mindless vampires going about. Now, if you're not into vampires but you're into zombies, you're probably still going to enjoy this. If you're into vampires but not into zombies, I think you're still going to get behind this, even though it does feel a lot like a zombie movie program. But it has things that I like. It's horror, it's got vampires. Don't get enough vampires. There was that whole vampire craze way back when. It's kind of dissipated, and now we're just we don't get enough vampires. So having some new vampire stuff is awesome. And the fact that it runs much like a disease out of control, which, as you know, if you watch my channel, I love that type of thing. I love zombies. I love, infectious diseases, and attempting to contain them and such. So having that go out is pretty cool. Now, in this show, and one thing that I was kind of iffy about, like how do you have a vampire contagion spread fast enough where even this is the thing, the people who are going to stop this, they have a list of everybody on the plane, and it should have been really, really easy for them to go out and in a short period of time manage to figure out everybody who's been in contact and dispatch them, if you will, get rid of these vampires in a relatively short period of time. Even if you broke up the group a little bit so that you covered more ground, I think it made sense that you probably could have or would have stopped this plague from really continuing on at the rate it does in the show. But what the show does to help that along is it sets up a lot of roadblocks along the way, which you have to watch the show to see what's going on. I'm not going to give too many details out, but there's a lot of roadblocks and reasons to allow you to believe that it's possible. And one is the actual rate of infection. Much like a zombie or a virus or anything, you get nicked by this stuff. It doesn't have to suck your blood and transfer the blood and all that kind of stuff like you would be, normal vampires. No, this is, you get nicked. You are essentially, you can be infected by this thing. So it spreads much like a virus, and I think in future seasons they may delve into that a little bit more. They want to at the start of season 1, but because this thing is progressing a little bit too quickly, and the people who are infected are turned into killers. The whole idea of trying to contain and study and develop a cure that you would normally do with diseases kind of becomes hard and essentially impossible in a short period of time. So, we get, it starts off as sort of a disease program and eventually progresses into sort of like a monster squad, John Carpenter's vampires, that type of deal where it's vampires versus humans going on, and you know what, I enjoy both of those things. The main CDC guy, who is named Ephraim, is played by Corey Stoll. You may recognize him to see him. He had a role in The Bourne Legacy. He had small recurring roles in both Law and Order Los Angeles, if you watch that, and House of Cards. But other than that, he's not somebody who is a really big, well-known actor. There's an old man who sort of plays the what would you call it? Sort of like the I guess he'd be like the Van Helsing character in this, like an older Van Helsing. So he had dealt with vampires in the past during the Second World War, and he survived essentially the Holocaust. So there is a lot of history of his character given in flashbacks to attempt to tell you who he is, who the vampires are, what this past of these creatures is, at least in the between the characters involved and their knowledge. Obviously he's a vampire, so he probably goes further back than that, but so a lot of his backstory is told through, actually a lot of the story, there's a lot of flashback things, and luckily they do have titles on them, so it's like it'll say where it is and what time, the dates and all that kind of stuff, so you have that going for it. But yeah, this is this. Of course, I've gotten off topic. This Van Helsing character, Abraham, is played by David Bradley, who you should recognize from the Harry Potter movies as Mr. Albus Filch. So it was cool to see him in something. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones. There's essentially one of the city exterminators, deals with the rat problems, played by Kevin Durand, who Canadian guy, who, if you watch Vikings, is a big character in that. He was Little John in Robin Hood. He did a lot of different things. I'm trying to think. Lots of different things. He was a Dark Angel, Beggars and Choosers, Lost. He was in Lost. You recognize him when you see him. He's one of those big, stocky type guy. So he has a lot of those type of roles. Who else do we have? We have Jonathan Hyde, who plays a character Eldritch. And I was trying to think, I didn't really recognize him where he was from until I looked him up. And he was in Jumanji, The Mummy, Dinotopia, Titanic, Anaconda. He was in quite a few things, not huge roles, but big enough that you should recognize who he is. Then you got Mia Maestro, who plays the other CDC person who I didn't recognize again, even though she has been on Poseidon and the new Ten Commandments movie and The Box. But yeah, it was somebody who I didn't recognize watching it. But yeah, there's a bunch of people in this show, including Lance Henriksen, who does the voice of the main vampire. That's awesome. And then Sean Astin, who, as much as I love Sean Astin, was a real... He was like he was disappointing. Samwise Gamgees, why did you suck so much? He honestly, I didn't like his acting in this show. Yeah, he has a main part, and his character is not likable, so I'm not putting that against him. It really is his acting. There seems to be a lot of Samwise in this character, and I just don't. He didn't sell it. He really didn't sell it to me. I didn't quite feel like his attitude and his actions matched together, let alone the character and how it was portrayed. So that was a little disappointing. One thing to point out, which is kind of cool, is Robert Maillet, the big guy who does a lot of, I think he was a wrestler. He's been in a lot of movies. He does a lot of henchman types roles and stuff like that. He actually is the character, the Master, physically, but because a lot of CG and stuff going on in this show. He's a man behind the mask, essentially. He's the puppet master, because they needed a big guy, and Robert Maillet is huge. Dude, I've been beside him. Like the guy. I'm like, if I'm standing up to him, I'd be up to like his armpit, maybe not. Oh, maybe just like under his rib cage. That guy, like his hand goes right, like cover my whole head. He's huge. The dude is a monster, massive dude. Oh my god. So yeah. So the cast is outside of the Sean Astin. We'll put him aside. Outside of Sean's performance, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed everybody, even the kids who are in the show. I thought they were really good. The only other thing I didn't like was at the beginning of the series, there's a young French child, and I didn't care much for her. But outside of that, it is awesome to see vampires again. It's awesome to see them mixed into the whole disease and infectious disease and a contagion type scenario. And you got to mix in a lot of little politics and good versus evil and chaos and such. So in that sense, I really, really enjoyed season 1 of The Strain. It's only 13 episodes long, but and this is where it kind of irked me. The season finale, it was kind of lame. Like, it didn't get me wanting to watch season 2. Like, oh, I gotta see season 2. It just kind of happened, and you just kind of knew that, hey, there's gonna be a season 2. Stay tuned type thing, which kind of sucked. But I guess if you already know you're gonna do 2 seasons, you don't spend a lot of time trying to hook people in with the end of season 1. Just hope they stick around. So I'm sticking around. I'm going to watch season 2. I enjoyed season 1. It gets my thumbs up. Stay tuned. Eventually, season 2 will be here on Show Me Some Television. So let me know if you've seen season 1, what you thought of the the whole ordeal, or maybe if you've read The Strain. Let me know down below. Again, no spoilers, just comments and thoughts. Oh, man. I gotta get a drink. So, yeah, thanks for watching. Until next video, take care. Have a good one.